Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast and Ascension symptom forecast for Sunday, November 7th to Saturday, November 13th. So, wowza. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. It means that you survived the energy of this past week. It has definitely been intense. It is something unprecedented that we have not experienced here in this physical realm as far back as our ancestors can remember. Why? Because the electromagnetic frequency coming in from the solar storms, from the light codes coming in, from the deep transformative energies that have been at play, they have hit the ceiling of numbers, of absolute extreme intensities that we have not yet seen. This is a peak, this is a cusp, this is a precipice, this is an indicator that we are right on track for raising our frequency, raising our vibration with Mother Earth as a team, as a unit, as a collective, in order to get us to New Earth. Let's talk about what has happened over this past week. Well, first of all, like I said, the intensity coming in from the solar storms, from the solar flares, are absolutely insane. I don't know if you've been following my posts about the space weather when, we've hit those KP7s and up. It is absolutely extreme. And you know what? I blame a lot of it on the fact that we are in a wide open portal. We had the portal open on Halloween. Here's the thing, that portal opened up on the 31st, preparing us for a download, for a shift, for a transformation like no other. And this portal is not closing until the realignment happens on 11/11. We have a huge window, a huge gap here where we are bringing in new light codes, where we're bringing in new information, where we are having total sudden shifts of the heart space, of the mind space that will set us up for a brand new path moving forward as we attempt to wrap up 2021. May I remind you, 2021 is the year of 5. What is 5? It's an adjustment period. It's experimental phase for us to align with our higher selves, our inner truth, our heart space. It's time for us to really recognize what makes us happy, who makes us happy, how we can create more of that energy in our lives. We've had to break away from the old foundations, the old relationships, the old ways of doing things, the old matrix. And now we are in an adjustment period, trying to figure out where it is that we're going to settle in and start building from here. So the pressure is on. We only have a short amount of time left in this year. And because this portal opened up on the 31st and it's not closing until we get zapped with realignment energies on the 11/11 portal, you best believe we have some work to do. So we had all this solar energy come in, absolutely triggering the very basic foundation of the Ascension flu symptoms. Of course, last week we discussed some of the, special symptoms that were going to emerge. Many of us have definitely had our fill of those particular aspects and ailments. And of course, it was all building towards the new moon in Scorpio that we just had yesterday. And under that peak energy, and again, if you haven't downloaded your moon guide, you can still go ahead and do that. The new moon window is still open. It's still alive and well. But this new moon in Scorpio is acting as the catalyst, as the trigger point for our shadow selves to emerge to the surface so that we can acknowledge all the not so nice stuff that we are definitely keeping alive and well underneath the surface of our awareness, of our consciousness. This new moon in Scorpio is about transformation. It is a metamorphosis. It is when we reach a certain depth so that we can become that pile of ash that the phoenix resurrects itself from in its most highest, powerful, enlightened form. That's what this is all about. If you haven't listened to the new moon in Scorpio astro event that I did, please tune into that. It's setting the foundation for the full moon partial lunar eclipse in Taurus that we're going to have on the 19th. These are all divinely scripted events that feed into one another. It's very important that you take this one event at a time. So we had this new moon in Scorpio yesterday, and under the peak of that energy, we had both Venus and Mercury reaching its critical degrees. Venus, of course, in Sag, wrapping up the life lessons of the new truth emerging of what it is that we need to feel emotionally safe and secure, what it is that we need as far as freedom and independence in our lives, what it is that we need to do to align with our higher selves, our higher truth, to see the possibilities of the future actually form to make us happy, to create more love, peace, and joy in our lives. And you had Mercury finally reach its critical degree in Libra. Thank goodness we're getting out of Libran energy. Yes, of course, it was a long extended stay because Mercury went retrograde in Libra and messed all kinds of things up. It didn't really mess things up. It just feels like that. It gave us an opportunity to rework, realign, reorganize, and restructure our thoughts, our relationships, our truth, the way that we express ourselves, the way that we fight for what is right. It has been a very long time in this Libran energy. So we had these two particular planets, one that rules over the heart, the other one that rules over the head, at their most critical degrees under the most transformative moon that we could possibly have. And then what? Well, Mercury and Venus both transitioned into their new energy here today. Earlier, just hours after the new moon in Scorpio peaked last evening, we had Venus move into Capricorn. Again, please check out the astrological event. It's more detailed. I can go into way more details in those events than I can do here because, as you know, I have a lot to say. Venus moves into Capricorn. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. We're getting down to business. We have to own up to and accept our own responsibilities in the life and the reality in which we created. If you don't like your life, well, look in the mirror. You created it. Whatever you've been thinking about, whatever you've been focused on has created the details and elements in your life, which means that when you accept the role that you're playing in your own reality, you know you can change it at any point in time. Now, Venus is going to retrograde later on in December in Capricorn, which is going to bring up a whole bunch of stuff that came up for us when she retrograded back in 2020 when she was in Gemini. This is going to have a major effect on our relationships, on our resources, on our routines, on our value, on our worth, on our plans for the future. Because once we realize that we have a hand in creating the hell in which we're currently living in, we know that we have the power to create the heaven that we want to be living in. Only hours after Venus moved into Capricorn, Mercury moved out of Libra and moved into Scorpio. Now, this is going to be a little bit of an intense time for us, but it's needed. We need to explore the darker thoughts of our mental plane, the darker memories. We have to ask ourselves the deep-seated questions. Why are we this way? Who made us like this? How did we end up like this? Why are we doing this? You know, we're looking for meaning. We're looking for purpose. We have to answer all of the deep-seated questions in order to make sense of why the pain and suffering is necessary in order for us to actually evolve our soul, our heart, our head, why we have to have that pain and suffering act as the trigger and catalyst for us to make a move to actually align to our soul's purpose, to our soul's path. There's going to be a lot of information coming in, a lot of not so nice information, especially on the greater, grander stage of the collective. We're definitely going to start seeing the truth that should have been given to us at the beginning. We're going to start seeing that emerge piece by piece, chunk by chunk, totally changing the game of what it is that we thought we've been doing for the last 2 years and what it is that we will be doing in the years to come. Game changer. So that's a lot of energy just to talk about this past week. So what do we got going on in this coming week? Well, first of all, I'm going to say we're given a quote unquote break. Now I say quote unquote break because there's really not much of a break. It's just that we've been so freaking hammered by these life lessons, by these energies that, you know, it would be nice just to have a little bit of a breather. But let me tell you, what we're building towards is this 1111 portal. This is where the alignment comes in, which means that we've been rocked this past week, which means that we need to find a new center grounding point this week. Everything that we are going to experience this week is an attempt to get us aligned, mind, body, and soul, on the path in which we now need to pursue very quickly. And we will start to see that accelerated process, especially with the eclipse energies beginning on the 19th. The 1111 portal is double whammied, because as if that wasn't just an opportune time to receive new information, receive new light codes, be activated in our DNA, activated in our energetic bodies, attempting to get in alignment, mind, body, and soul. We have the first quarter moon taking place in Aquarius. This is the very first time in this new lunar cycle that we are encouraged to make up a boss up move, take action, do something. Do something to align your physical realms with the dreams and the visions that you're now being downloaded and inspired with. This is a big deal. Aquarian energy is visionary, but it's also the rebel, which means that in order for a transformation to take place, yep, we're still in Scorpio season. Yep, we just was triggered by the new moon in Scorpio. In order for a transformation to take place, we have to fight back at the systems that are trying to keep us in a state of paralysis. This is what the Aquarian energy does. It liberates us. It shows us the path of freedom. It shows us where it is that we have to have a futuristic vision in order for us to have a meaning, a passion, and desire to do what we have to do, the uncomfortable moves here in the present moment, to stand up and fight for our freedom, for our independence, to make sure that we're on the right side of history, watching these old paradigms crumble. This is going to be a big week. And as if that wasn't enough, the moon and Jupiter make such a powerful alignment, because of course the moon will be in Aquarius, having that first quarter moon. Jupiter is already in Aquarius. The moon and Jupiter come together in this very short window, this very powerful window of manifesting, of abundance, of opportunities, of blessings, all on the 1111 portal. This is a powerhouse energy, people, and you best believe that all the darker forces are going to try to taint our minds, keep us in that negative narrative. Why? Because they don't want us to ascend. They don't want us to raise our vibration. They don't want us to be excited or happy about the future. They don't want us envisioning peace and love and harmony. They want us stuck in the pain and suffering so that we can't manifest new earth. So that suggests that this week we will have a little bit of a bumpy ride, because those darker force energies don't want us to take advantage of the powerful manifesting energy, the realignment energy, the action energy that we are going to be triggered with on November 11th. Let's jump into the Ascension symptoms. First of all, if you feel like you're dying, you're right on track. If you feel like things are being removed and destroyed and you're seeing a certain death in your life, you're right on track. I need to remind you guys that we are where it is that we are meant to be. We are supposed to feel like we are reaching a certain death, because we are. The earth is reaching a certain death. Collective is reaching a certain death. Individually, our physical bodies, our energetic bodies are reaching a certain death. We are in Scorpio season, my friends. It is all about death. Why? So that we can resurrect ourselves. We can rebirth ourselves. We can renew ourselves, because that is how transformation and metamorphosis takes place. I feel like the death, the dying, the endings have to happen. That's a bittersweet ending in order for something new to begin. This is where we're at. Now, let me tell you, those of you and myself who still are struggling to see the greater, grander path forward here, the light is coming in Sagittarius season. Astrology gives us a down-to-the-minute script on where the highs and the lows are and everything in between. So just trust in the fact that if you are at your wit's end, at the depths of your darkness, sitting at the bottom of all the shadow parts that have been illuminated to you, and you can't take anymore, and you don't want to do this anymore, let me tell you, you are exactly where it is that you need to be. And now, after you give yourself a moment to wipe the tears from your face and decide that you are going to rise to the challenge and resurrect yourself as the phoenix in which you were built to be and get your ass back on the battlefield, then you can start wondering, compiling, solving the issues of how the hell you're going to get from where it is that you're at that you don't want to be to back on the battlefield where you can start fighting for the kind of goals, dreams, and desires that you know to be alive and true in your heart space, because you're acting as the observer and you're rewriting the egoic code that has been your operating system up until your awakening. So let's go back for a second. You want to talk about that being a purge? You want to talk about that being a rant? You want to talk about that being a release? Well, I want you to take a look at all the release points that you've been given over this last week. This has been about a purge. If you listened to the new moon in Scorpio astro event, you would have known that this was more like a full moon than a new moon, because we were given an opportunity to let go, to surrender, to purge, to release. Why? Because we're in a portal. We're trying to be downloaded with all of these new operating systems, these new light codes and DNA activations, and there's not enough room for them because we refuse to delete the mental and emotional baggage that keeps our wounds alive and well. We have to purge, and we do that when we're beaten down. And that is why many of us are feeling like we're at the depths of our darkness. So in our body, you might have felt some lymph node issues. You know, the glands in your throat, the glands underneath your armpits, in your groin area. Your lymph nodes are responsible for taking the toxicity through your body to the organs in which is going to cleanse them before you get rid of them. And right now we're a little bit backed up. Why? Because Scorpio season is a fixed sign. We're talking about fluid. We're talking about water. We're talking about toxic, shadow, junk. Our lymph nodes are all swelled up because we're refusing to let go. Our lymph nodes are trying to show us where in our physical bodies we're struggling to put down the emotional and mental baggage of our past, and where we're struggling to clean out our systems to allow the new light codes to channel through with ease and with grace. So many of us have to pay attention to where our glands are kind of swelling up. This is going to tell us where it is that the blockages are arising. Now, let's talk about it. We have a lot of bloating, a lot of bowel issues. We either are all bound up or just cannot stay away from the bathroom. We have a lot of bladder spasms. We have a lot of acid reflux. Now, let's talk about this. First of all, Scorpio season is, very weighted in fixating on the past. We have a hard time letting go. That's where constipation can come in. When you're free flowing and you got stuff moving through you faster than you can get to a bathroom, well, that is an immediate release and purge of the toxicity which your body can no longer keep in. Now, we have had a lot of solar plexus issues and activations. This is right under the rib cage. This is pains and bubbles. This is acid reflux. This is feeling like somebody kicked you in your gut. That is solar plexus activations. That goes hand in hand with the heart activations that we're having. Again, the reason for our chest and boob issues. And this week in particular, we're going to have more heart and head activations in attempt to get us in alignment on that 1111 portal. So when we talk about releasing, especially fluids, we're talking about bathroom issues on both ends. We're talking about vomiting and puking. We're talking about tears. We're talking about screaming. We're talking about discharge. And discharge is not pleasant. We don't want to talk about it. Anywho, I want to talk about the fact that there are old wounds resurfacing. I'm not just talking memories. I'm not just talking emotions. I'm not just talking thoughts. I'm talking like if you broke your leg 10 years ago, suddenly you're feeling the tension in that particular area. If you had a surgery 2 years ago and you thought you were healed, suddenly the scar tissue seems to be a little bit more taut than normal. I want to talk about this because when we go through a death, a rebirth, and a renewal, as we're going through in Scorpio season, these old wounds have to come up in order for us to remember The pain and suffering. Why? Because the pain and suffering is actually our greatest strength. Sometimes we can't even imagine the pain that we've gone through. Sometimes we become so desensitized of trying to repress those thoughts, those memories, that experience, that we don't even remember that it happens. And we need those old wounds to be ripped wide open again in order for us to put into perspective the growth, the healing that we've been able to do, and give us a little bit of a humbled perspective on how life was actually way worse at that time, and really puts into perspective some of the things that we think are just freaking awful in our moments right now. Well, compared to some of your worst times of your life, this particular point in time ain't looking so bad. So I want to talk about the fact that this week we are going to have swelling continue in your lymph nodes, in your face, water weight, in your fingers, all of that fun stuff. The swelling is likely going to trigger a lot of hot and cold temperature changes, especially in the lower limbs. We are going to have tingling, pins and needles, and foot spasms, likely from the knee down. It will depend on where it is in your path, where you're storing the fear. The fear is mostly stored in the kneecap, but in the ankle, in the toes, in the foot as well, depending on where these sensations are happening to you. This is where you're afraid to take a step forward in life. Pay attention to what your physical body is trying to say to you. When we talk about the twitching and the spasms, you're also going to be feeling that in your face, likely in your eyes. We have some big things going on with the eyes this week. Pay attention to what side of your face this is happening on. For me, this is my left side. My left side, especially my eye, has been watering, has been itchy, has been dry. And I'm thinking, how the hell can I have a dry eye if my eyes won't stop watering? It doesn't make sense. But it feels like there's flakiness in there. It feels like there's sand in there. And I even have skin flaking and a semi-little rash around this left eye. Why? Because I don't like what I see. I don't like my reality. And when you don't like what you're seeing, when you don't like the information coming in, your eyes have physical manifestations of the energy that you're not channeling with ease and grace within your physical input sensory body parts. So you might have itchy eyes, you might have dry eyes, they might water, they might do everything all at the same time. But let me tell you, these eye crusties, it's not just sleep in your eyes. These are like crusties. Now, I don't have an eye infection, and you probably don't either, but there's some kind of weird crustiness going on in our eyes, and I feel like this is because we are just so delusionary right now, not wanting to accept things the way that they are. And because we're not willing to channel that new information in from our physical realms, we're almost being crusted over, trying to just not see at all. Right? Temporary blindness, if you will. And the sparks and the shots of light and the orbs that we're seeing, that is all sensory. That is all because we're having a hard time visualizing our future, because our reality sucks so freaking badly right now that we don't know how to visualize anything but the present moment that we're just so freaking unhappy about. So even though it is the eyes, even though there's twitching and spasms in the face, especially around the eyes, I want you to kind of examine your body for red, erupted, itchy, scaly patches of skin, especially if they are near a meridian line in your body, if they are near a major organ in your body. This is going to tell you where it is that you're having a problem getting the toxicity out of your physical form because of the energetic blocks that you are unable to accept in the spiritual realm, in the energetic force field, right? There is an overlap. And everything that we're experiencing in our energetic realms, that's why we're having these physical manifestations. This week, we're going to have extreme thirst. Now, it might seem oxymoronic to you. We're in a water season, we're bloated, we're swelling, we're taking on water weight, but yet we feel like we're so freaking thirsty that we're going to be dehydrated. It is so important, especially with these new energies coming in, these new light codes coming in, especially when the Schumann Resonance is off the charts and we hit numbers over a KP4, because KP4 technically was a high level maybe this time last year, but technically speaking right now, KP4 is really a walk in the park compared to some of the energies that have been coming through the space weather. Please just understand that water cleanses, it transforms. It is the number one conductor of energy, of light codes, of intuition, of toxicity in our physical forms. Water is always the answer. Many of us have lost our appetites. That's okay. Okay, that's all right. Deal with that, but keep the water to you. Okay, you have to keep the water to you, especially this week, because we have extreme thirst. And with that extreme thirst, we have this really funky film coming back in our mouth. We absolutely have this kind of yuckiness going on in the back of our throat. We have raspiness taking place in our lungs. We have clearing of the throat, trying to purge that old grossness out of us. And guess what? We even have canker sores. We're even biting our lips like it's their first time having lips. You ever just be eating supper and then all of a sudden you just like literally bite your own face off? Like, what is that about? Is this the first time I've ever chewed food in my life? I didn't think so. We're having these weird little, water blisters, canker sores, biting our lips, splitting our lip, this funky film in our mouth. It's all over the place. And even on our face, around the jawline specifically, in the middle of the forehead. For many of us, if you're having heart problems, you're going to have outbreaks and pimples around your nose. But like down on your chin line, around your jawline specifically, that's hormonal. And right now we're going through a hormonal surge, our hormonal purge, with all of the sexual reproductive organs just being cleansed out and detoxed. And it's not pleasant. And of course, if you're having an outbreak in the center of your head, well, that's your third eye. It's time to wake up. It's time to join the party. And so you can tell a lot based off of the eruptions taking place on your body where skin is concerned of what's going on in your physical form. So the water sensation is going to kind of continue because we're going to feel like we have water up our nose and our sinuses, even though our sinuses seem to be clogged, especially on one side over the other. And we're going to hear that wonk, wonk, wonk in our ears because we feel like we have water stuck in our ears. It is absolutely muffling the truth of the matter. We have so many things coming in from other realms right now that our senses are overloaded. We can't really make sense of it, but it has gone from very high-pitched screaming siren bell sounds to very low vibrational wonk, wonk, wonk sounds. And that is going to continue throughout this week. So we are going to be hypersensitive, especially as we get to that 1111 portal where the universe is really going to put us on block in order to get realigned, mind, body, and soul. But just understand that we're going to have a lot of pressure in our head, and this is going to create dizziness. And I don't even want to say dizziness. I don't even want to say spaciness. I want you to literally just think that you could be staring off to space and then all of a sudden somebody picks up the snow globe that you live in and just shakes it so rapidly that literally you're disoriented and you just feel like you have to lay down because everything else in the world is like on a slant or spinning or going backwards or what have you. That is a realignment validation. Do not be afraid of it. Just close your eyes, take a couple of breaths, ground yourself, get in your present body. That too shall pass. The last thing that I want to talk about is that our intuition, especially in Scorpio season, but especially with this portal being wide open, especially as we reach the alignment portal on the 1111, our intuition is very strong, coming through just rapid moments of insight, gut reaction, daydreams, night dreams. But let me tell you, it's going to be a little bit different for us this week because we literally are gaining visions, prophetic visions of what it is that our path forward is going to look like. We've all been praying for clarity. This is the week that clarity is going to start to come, but don't get upset when it's not the kind of information that you were hoping for. Sometimes we need to be totally disappointed and derailed and detoured in order to get onto the right path. Sometimes we need a shock to the system with information that we did not want in order to get us on the path that we do want. But fear not. By the end of this week, you will have more information to work with, good, bad, or otherwise, that will provide you with multiple pieces of the puzzle that you have been lacking in order to see clearly, just a little bit, on what this next chapter, what this next little jaunt in our path is going to mean for us as an individual and as a collective. So my friends, that was quite a rant. I want to thank you for sticking with me through it all. I want to thank you for sharing your time and your energy and your love with me. I want to thank you for showing up not only for me, but for the community here and mostly for yourself. I hope that some of the information here validated your experiences and made you not feel like you were alone in this world. And I hope that some of the information triggered you, because that is how change happens. I hope it acted as a catalyst. I hope that my rant kind of made you boss up. I hope that you understand that sometimes we have to have tough love to bully us down to the darkest spot before we rise again in our power and make a dramatic change in our perspective and in our mindset. I love each and every single one of you. I pray for each and every single one of you. I thank you for the love that you show me each and every day. And you know that I'm in the corner cheering us all on. I hope you have a beautiful week, and we'll talk to you soon.